It's the Pittsburgh Penguins' first night in Utah against the hockey team that everybody is curious about on the first day, called the Utah Hockey Club, the team of conversation. But everybody in the NHL wants to answer the question, just who is this hockey club in Utah going to be down the road? It's the Penguins versus the whatchamacallits down in Utah next. You're locked in to Penguins hockey on the Sports for Beginners podcast. Sidney Crosby and the Penguins play here on the Sports for Beginners podcast. Hey, Shooty scores! The bingo game is ready to roll. Welcome to Penguins postgame. I'm PPG for PGH, and you'd have to be here to believe it. Here is your host, Scott McGregor. Welcome to Penguins postgame. Hello, Pens and Utah Hockey Club fans, and welcome to another episode of Penguins postgame. I am your host, Scott McGregor, and boy howdy did this game between the Penguins and Utah begin with a bang. Despite Utah opening the scoring early on, and before we get down to business, breaking down the game from our head coaches and goaltending matchups, I just want to let everyone know that prior to us checking into what is next for both of these teams, we are going to discuss the three team name finalists for for this Utah hockey franchise, and that is going to be discussed, and that is going to be that is going to kick off our final segment of the program. But that's near the end of the program, and to get there we got to break down this hockey game, and we can't do that without knowing our matchup in goal and who is behind the bench for both teams. So let's go ahead and do that now. The Utah Hockey Club, as they are called for now, are head coached by Andre Torgani. And of course, as we know, the Pittsburgh Penguins are head coached by Mike Sullivan. So those are our head coaches for Utah and Pittsburgh. But started who started in goal for either squad in this game? Well, on one end of the ice, the Pittsburgh end of the ice, it would be Alex Nedeljkovic. It would be Alex Nedeljkovic getting the start in goal, with Joel Blomqvist in as the backup goaltender for the Penguins. And the other end of the ice, for the Utah end of the ice, it's Connor Ingram who gets the start at the other end of the ice opposite Pittsburgh. And he is going to be backed up by Karel V Jamoka. If I pronounce that wrong, I sincerely apologize for any of that. Karel V Jamoka. We're going to go with KV, who is backing up Connor Ingram in this one at the other end of the ice. So it's Alex Nedeljkovic versus Connor Ingram in goal for this game on Wednesday night. So how did the game go for the Penguins and Utah on Wednesday night? Stick with us because when Penguins postgame continues, we break down the game on Wednesday night with our period by period summary. Plus, we get into the stat totals of the game and the 3 stars of the game as well. Penguins postgame. We'll be back. We'll be right back in a moment with the period by period game summary and much, much more. We'll be right back to Penguins postgame in a moment. Looking for a sports podcast that covers sports weekly as well as gets you set up for the day? Check out Weekly in Sports with me, Scott McGregor. We give some shout-outs of the week to podcasts like this one and those who do them. Discuss the Blue Jays, Bills, Raptors, and more. To learn more, check out the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners.
Take another look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo, two powerful women of diverse backgrounds having genuine, unique, and uncomfortable conversations that everyone needs to have. Join Melanie and Gerda for conversations about what is missing from human connections.
CNT Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down. Nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on CNT Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on CNT Radio.
Penguins 3, Utah 2. Time now to break this hockey game down from the Delta Center in Salt Lake City, Utah. So how did this one go down for the Penguins and the Utah Hockey Club? And more importantly, how did we end up in overtime? Here we go. Let's get started. Boy, howdy. Did we get started in this one on Wednesday night with a bang as BJI and Liam O'Brien don't take too long. They don't take too long to drop the gloves, and we got ourselves a fight. 2 minutes and 4 seconds into the game, the first 2 penalties of the hockey game are gifted out as 5-minute majors for fighting to Bokanja Ama. If I pronounced that wrong, my apologies. And Liam O'Brien also picking up a 5-minute major for fighting. It was later in the period, though, as we go penalties, and our scoring is going to come up in just a little bit before we get to game stats for this game, and of course our 3 stars coming up in the next segment as well, coming up in this part of this segment as well. The play of the game, a look around the NHL, particularly around the action on Wednesday night, and the game puck of the game still to come in the next commercial break. But before we get there, we've got to get to the stats of the game and the 3 stars of the game. To get there, let's continue on with our breakdown of this game, period by period. Later in the period, Blake Lizotte, who returned to the Penguins lineup, but was a game-time decision right as the game was about to begin. He would return to the lineup. He is receiving a 2-minute minor for holding as the Penguins go to the game's first penalty kill of the evening, 13 minutes and 47 seconds in. And Utah gets the first power play of the night, which they do connect on. Yes, they do connect on this one. It's Mikhail Sergachev, also a game time decision, and return to the Utah lineup. He gets the hockey club the early lead on the power play. Nick Schmaltz picking up his 30th assist of the season. Logan Cooley picking up his 28th assist of the season. And for Mikhail Sergachev, it's his 9th goal of the season. And wouldn't you know it, Utah's got the lead 14 minutes and 51 seconds into the first period. So 2 penalties to Pittsburgh, 1 penalty to Utah in the first period. Shots on goal after 1 period of play, 12-4 in favor of the Utah Hockey Club. The Utah Hockey Club out shooting the Penguins 12-4 after 20 minutes of play, and they lead 1-0. Not for very long. Second period we go, and we're going to save some time here for a quick timeout, but we're going to get to that after the second period scoring and penalties, as we will get to the third period and overtime period scoring and penalties. Of course, nothing to count for in overtime and nothing to account for in the third period in terms of penalties. So we'll get to the second period penalties and wrap up our scoring after we take a quick timeout for a word from our good friends over at Broadcast Mat as the period-by-period summary continues into the game stats and 3 stars of the game following the end of our penalty summary, which is at the second period. And while we're at it, since we're running this down, we'll get through our second period scoring as well. So, in the second period, Barrett Hayton gives Pittsburgh their first and only power play of the game, as he takes the only penalty of the second period that was called, a 2-minute minor for high sticking at 4 minutes and 13 seconds. Marcus Pettersson does score, but only shortly after, so 2 minutes and 40 seconds after the Penguins are unsuccessful on the power play. He scores his 3rd goal of the season, and that puts Pittsburgh on the board. It's now Utah 1, Penguins 1, Hockey Club 1, Penguins 1, as they are called right now. The Utah hockey franchise is called the Utah Hockey Club. They can remain that if the decision goes permanent to become that name. But we'll talk about that over the course of the program in a little bit as we roll on here on Penguins Postgame. And of course, moving on with that, Sidney Crosby picking up assist number 39 of the season for Sid. Matt Grizzly picking up assist number 26 of the season. And for Marcus Pettersson, the goal that gets Pittsburgh on the board is his 3rd goal of the season. Penguins on the board 6 minutes and 40 seconds into the second period. But it's Michael Carcone, 4th goal of the year, immediately gets Utah back the lead. He immediately gets Utah back the lead, and the hockey club go into the break, headed to the third period, leading 2-1. That's Michael Carcone's 4th goal of the season. 4th goal of the season. And John Marino, former Penguin, his 4th assist of the season as a Utah Hockey Club member. Speaking of former Penguins, Nick Bjugstad picking up his 8th assist of the season. He's having a good season for his Utah Hockey Club career. 8 minutes and 36 seconds in. Literally 2 minutes and 36 seconds later, after the Marcus Pettersson goal evens the score. It's Michael Carcone with his 4th goal of the season that beats Alex Nedeljkovic, I should say, not Tristan, Alex Nedeljkovic, to give Utah back the lead 8 minutes and 36 seconds into the second period. All right, we're going to take a quick timeout, wrap up the period-by-period summary with overtime and the third period scoring. No penalties in the third period, no penalties in overtime. That will lead us to our game stats of the game. But before we take this commercial break to hear a word from Broadcast Map, shots on goal for the game tied at 19-19 apiece between the Penguins and Utah Hockey Club. Penguins outshot the Hockey Club 15-7 at the end of 2 periods of play. But for the game, we are all even at 19-19 apiece. The third period, shots on goal after regulation and shots on goal after overtime coming up in a matter of moments. Plus, how did we end up in overtime? Who got the game winner? Did Utah sweep Pittsburgh after beating them last time 6-1 in Pittsburgh? This time in Utah, in Pittsburgh's first visit in Penguins franchise history to the Delta Center. Did the Penguins even up the season series in their first visit to the Delta Center? How we got to overtime and how we got to a 3-2 final when Penguins postgame continues in a moment. Still to come on the period-by-period summary, game stats time, and of course, the 3 stars of the game, all when Penguins postgame continues in a moment. After this, from Broadcast Map, stick with us.
Looking for conversations on the world of broadcasting, sports media, and from time to time, my favorite sports teams? Listen to Broadcast Map with me, Ali Musa. To learn more about the show and to view the upcoming schedule, like the Broadcast Map Facebook page. Search Broadcast Map.
Looking for a good hockey podcast that covers your favorite hockey teams and mine? Check out On the Ice and Behind the Benches, where we chat about our favorite hockey teams from puck drop to the last play of the action. To learn more, follow the On the Ice and Behind the Benches Facebook page. Search On the Ice and Behind the Benches. Thank you very much, Ali, for your continued support on our Sports for Beginners podcast and, of course, on our Weekly in Sports podcast. Speaking of which, that drops at 8 p.m. Eastern tonight. This show is dropping on Sports for Beginners a little bit later, but at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 1 a.m. in the UK, and 2 a.m. in France time. It's the very first episode, I should say, of Weekly in Sports in the Weekly in Sports podcast era, which begins tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. All right. Lots more to talk about here on the hockey game show. We were in the period-by-period summary. Wrapping that one up now here in the third period, and we're going to go to overtime. This will lead us to our stats for the game, our totals for the game, as we've got 2 more periods to go before we can get to the 3 stars of the game and the rest of the stats for this hockey game. We've mentioned that Utah connected once on the power play. The Penguins unsuccessful on the power play. They were also unsuccessful on the penalty kill. So we'll find out all the other stats in a little bit. But in the third period, Penguins down by 1. And guess what? Erik Karlsson, 6 minutes and 17 seconds, says, guess what? I'm going to go ahead and put this puck in the net to make sure that the Penguins have to make Utah sweat for this one. Shots on goal for the period, by the way. 8. Nope, it was 9. It was indeed 9. 9 shots on goal for the Penguins. 9 shots on goal for the hockey club. And one of those 9 shots on goal for the Penguins is Erik Karlsson, EK65's 5th goal of the season. He comes up clutch and ties the game at 2. We go to overtime, where it only takes 1 shot, as far as it would take, I guess, maybe a couple of shots, but it only takes 1 shot by Utah and 1 shot by Pittsburgh to send this game into the end of the game. And it's the shot on goal by Sidney Crosby, number 16 on the season for Sid. Cody Glass with assist number 10 on the season. Number 16 is the goal for Sidney Crosby. Cody Glass with his 10th assist of the season. Ricard Raquel with assist number 20 of the season. 3 minutes and 54 seconds in. With that overtime winner, his 47th career overtime winner, according to what I know from the Penguins here. The Penguins now have their first overtime winning goal by Sidney Crosby for the year of, actually no, that's his 3rd overtime winning goal of the year for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and number 47 of his career, but it's his 16th goal of the season, and it comes 3 minutes and 54 seconds in. The Penguins avoid the sweep in their first visit to Utah. I should say first visit to the Delta Center in Penguins franchise history. They defeat the Utah Hockey Club 3-2 in overtime after being beat 6-1 back in Pittsburgh back in late November. Officials for this game are Francis Charon, Gene Herbert, Caleb Epperson, and Jesse Marquise. Caleb Epperson and Jesse Marquise were the linesmen. Gene Herbert and Francis Charon were the referee officials for this game. Penguins were without Matt Nieto, Ryan Shea, and Philip Tomasino. Jay Valmaki, Juuso Valmaki, Vladis K, and Matthias Maselli picking up the scratches for Utah. And again, the Penguins, just to reiterate, they were without Matt Nieto, Ryan Shea, and Philip Tomasino. Well, one shot on goal is all they needed for overtime, and it's the Penguins with the game-winning overtime shot on goal. But for the game, both teams combined for 29 shots each. 29 shots for the Penguins, 29 shots on goal after the game for Utah, for the Utah Hockey Club. This Penguin post-game show is wrapping up nicely here, or is on its way, or is running down nicely, I should say. And coming up in a little bit, we're going to get to the play of the game, a look around the NHL, and the game puck of the game. And we're going to get to next up for the Penguins and the Utah Hockey Club, as well as my thoughts on what the permanent name of the Utah hockey franchise will be. I do know that we will have an answer before we should have an answer before the start of the 2025-2026 regular season. So will they remain the hockey club? Will they become a different name like the Utah Mammoth, the Utah Washe, I should say. If I pronounce that wrong, I apologize. One thing I know for sure, Utah will not be called the Utah Yetis permanent as a team name. And with that all being said, before we take this commercial break, let's wrap up this period by period summary, game summary, with the rest of our game stats, minus the shots on goal, which were 29-29 for Utah and Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh Penguins winning 38 out of 67 faceoffs. They win just about 57% of the faceoffs at 56.7%. 43.3% faceoffs were won by Utah. They win 29 out of 67 of the faceoffs. Utah connects on the only power play goal on the only power play opportunity they have, I should say. That was a power play goal by none other than Mikhail Sergachev. Thanks to the assists by Nick Schmaltz and Logan Cooley, Pittsburgh native Logan Cooley. And, of course, the Penguins unable to connect on the power play. Just like their power play, the penalty kill, unable to kill off the penalty. So both the power play and penalty kill for the Pittsburgh Penguins is 0 for 1 on the evening on Wednesday night. We also saw, because of that result on the power play for the Penguins, the Utah Hockey Club are perfect both on the power play and the penalty kill. Both teams spend 7 minutes in the penalty box. And with that being said, Utah may have tied with Pittsburgh in the shot total at 29-29, but they were out-hit by the Penguins 35-24. They blocked 20 of Pittsburgh's shots. Pittsburgh blocked 19 of Utah's shots. Pittsburgh gave the puck away. They gave the puck away 18 times. Utah gave the puck away to Pittsburgh 25 times. Utah had 8 takeaways in the game and 7 takeaways for the Penguins in this one. All right. On to our next break, but before we get there, it's time for the 3 stars of the hockey game. They are brought to you by on the Penguins Radio Network. As a disclaimer here, they are brought to you by your neighborhood Ford stores. Ford cars, trucks, and SUVs are the official vehicles of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Ford and the Pens. How's that for a powerhouse squad? With that being said, we are not sponsored by Ford, the official car, truck, and SUV of the Pittsburgh Penguins, but we are going to go ahead and give you our 3 stars of the game right now. If you have another opinion on the 3 stars of the game, let us know in the Penguins Postgame Show Discord server, Penguins Postgame Show Interactions, or send an email to sportsforbeginnerspodcast8231@gmail.com. And with that being said, that can also be done for the play of the game, game puck of the game, and the shake of the game, all of which is still to come on the program, so be sure to stick with us. Before we get to the break, your 3rd star on Wednesday night belongs to Erik Karlsson, 1 goal, 1 point, no assists. He is your 3rd star. Your 2nd star is Utah defenseman Mikhail Sergachev, 1 goal, 1 point, no assists. 2 points for the captain of the Pittsburgh Penguins, who ends up becoming your 1st star of the hockey game. 1 goal and 1 assist to account for the 2 points. It's number 87, Sidney Crosby, Mikhail Sergachev, and Erik Karlsson, your 3 stars of the game, as Utah falls to Pittsburgh 3-2 in overtime. Down at the Delta Center. All right, play of the game coming up next. The shake of the game coming up next. Plus, it's time to find out who's going to be the lucky Utah Hockey Club member and lucky Pittsburgh Penguin to grab the game puck of the game. And we're going to get to what were the permanent team name 3 finalists of the Utah Hockey Club sweepstakes. What were the permanent team name? What will the permanent team name be? We're going to talk about that. I'll have some thoughts on it. And we're going to get into what will the permanent team name be for Utah. And, of course, up next for the Hockey Club, as they are called now, and the Penguins, is coming up with a look around the NHL coming up as well. And we'll get to that before we get to the play of the game, shake of the game, and the game puck of the game when Penguins postgame continues in a matter of moments. Stick with us.
Looking for conversations on books and more, as well as tutorials on using your favorite devices and applications? You've come to the right place. Join us weekly on Spicy Techie, where Ali and Sienna provide insightful conversations, as well as useful tips and tricks to help you along on your technological journey. To learn more, tune into the show and like the Spicy Techie Facebook page. Search for Spicy Techie.
Take another look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo, two powerful women of diverse backgrounds having genuine, unique, and uncomfortable conversations that everyone needs to have. Join Melanie and Gerda for conversations about what is missing from human connections.
Welcome back to Penguins postgame. Penguins and the Hockey Club. Hockey Club beat the Fault of the Penguins 3-2. Other finals around the league on Wednesday night. The Maple Leafs fell 3-1 to the Minnesota Wild in Toronto. The New Jersey Devils defeated the Philadelphia Flyers 5-0. The Florida Panthers shut out the Kings 3-0. And the Vancouver Canucks picking up another one of those 3-1 finals as they defeat the Nashville Predators, who the Penguins will see on Saturday in Pittsburgh, 3-1. Goals by Niles Hoglander, Tommy Novak, Linus Karlsson, and Parise Suter. Of course, there were two shutouts to speak of. The Devils beat the Flyers 5-0. Sam Bennett registering a goal in the Panthers' 3-0 victory over the Kings in Florida. Lots of hockey action on the slate today on Thursday, January 30th, 2025. 10 games, in fact. And it all starts in a matter of moments. But we're keeping it to Wednesday. So, with that said, it's time now for the play of the game. Disclaimer, we're not sponsored by the sponsor of the Penguins Radio Network for this segment, which is Rivers Casino, Pittsburgh's entertainment destination. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Follow Penguins Live on X at hashtag at Penguins Live on X. And send a message to hashtag Penguins Live on X, formerly known as Twitter. Once again, the play of the game on the Penguins Radio Network on WXDX FM Pittsburgh is brought to you by Rivers Casino, Pittsburgh's entertainment destination. 3 stars are brought to you by your neighborhood Ford stores. Ford cars, trucks, and SUVs are the official vehicles of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Not sponsored by any of those. So here we go with the play of the game. And I'm going to go back to the third period, the goal in the clutch by EK65. He gets this done all by himself. It's unassisted. Just that patience. He's showing he's going to pass. And guess what? He shows you he's going to pass, makes you bite on the passing attempt, think he's going to pass. He makes you bite there, and he puts it behind you. Connor Ingram, unable to get a hold of Erik Karlsson's 5th goal of the game and stop it to keep this one at 2-1 Utah. And his 5th goal of the season of the season. 5th goal of the season. 2nd goal of the Penguins Hockey Club for Wednesday night in their 3-2 victory, as 5 goals were scored in this one. 3 of them to Pittsburgh, 2 of them to Utah. Erik Karlsson's goal, that was the 4th goal scored, but 2nd goal scored by Pittsburgh. Good enough for my play of the game. And again, in case you missed that, that is brought to you by, on the Penguins Radio Network, Rivers Casino, Pittsburgh's entertainment destination. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. We are not sponsored by that. But if we were, I guarantee you this would be a tone setter for the play of the game. Time now for the shake of the game, inspired by our former Penguin player Jake Gensel's Milkshake Factory ad, now run by Brian Rust. Speaking of, Brian Rust was back in the lineup in this one. In this game, he was in the lineup in this game. And with that said, we are going to do, for the sake of time, because I want to make sure that we have some time to put in my thoughts on the Utah Hockey Club and what the permanent name of the hockey club is going to be come 2025-2026, or what the finalists are going to be as of now. I want to make sure that we at least leave some time in there, so we're going to do one with an honorable mention of the shake of the game getting some flowers for the game puck of the game. And with that, as we have taken our look around the NHL, we continue with our game breakdown. This is now our player of the game segment we call the shake of the game, inspired by the Milkshake Factory ad, originally run by Jake Gensel, the former Penguin, now Tampa Bay Lightning, and now run by Brian Rust. Still a Penguins player on the Penguins roster right now. All right, so the shake of the game, well, an honorable mention is going to go to Alex Nedeljkovic. I thought Nedeljkovic played really well. Gave up 1 goal on the power play and 1 goal at even strength for his 2 goals against. Made some great saves, 27 saves on 29 shots. And of course, we saw him play 63 minutes and 54 seconds, excuse me. Nedeljkovic ends the game, on Wednesday night with a save percentage of .931. And of course, that is an honorable mention. Our shake of the game recipient is going to go to goal scorer. And isn't this interesting? 2 of the goals came on the defensive side for the Penguins. We're going to give it to our game winner. That's going to go to Sidney Crosby. Sidney Crosby is going to get the Penguins shake of the game. Honorable mention to Connor Ingram for the Utah Hockey Club. So you can already tell my game puck of the game is going to go to a goaltender on both sides of the ice. But where is my shake of the game going to go for the Utah Hockey Club, or as we said in the earlier part of the program, the Utah whatchamacallits, and apologies there because I know it's called the Utah Hockey Club right now. I know they're called the Utah Hockey Club. I know that. I know that they're called the Utah Hockey Club as of today and as of this season. But will they remain the Utah Hockey Club? We'll talk about that coming up in our final segment in just a matter of moments. But for me, the game puck of the game, I should say the shake of the game, is going to go to none other than goal scorer Michael Carcone. Michael Carcone is going to get my shake of the game. I feel like I really enjoyed watching him play in this game on Wednesday night. And honestly, another honorable mention would be Logan Caruso. Maybe Logan Cooley. And how about John Marino too? All right. When we return, game puck of the game, what will the permanent name of the Utah Hockey Club possibly be? What can it possibly be? And next up for the Penguins, next up for the Hockey Club, Penguins postgame wraps up after this from Sienna T Radio, making your day brighter one song at a time. Back after this quick word from our friends over at Spicy Techie and our good friend Sienna over at her radio station, Sienna T Radio, making your day brighter one song at a time. We wrap up Penguins postgame on the other side. Stick with us.
I wonder if I could make it. It's almost getting to 8 o'clock p.m., and I am still a few more steps away from home to get to my computer to listen to Sienna T Radio's Cosmopolitan Culture Club. The best of the best music from around the world. Can't wait. I think I made it. Sienna T Radio, making your day brighter one song at a time.
Welcome back to Penguins postgame here, final segment of the show, which means it's now time to talk about the Utah Hockey Club. What is going to be the final decision for the Utah Hockey Club? What is going to be the final decision for the Utah Hockey Club? Well, we know that the Smith Entertainment Group is on point. They are on track to release the permanent name of the new Utah hockey franchise ahead of the 2025-2026 season. But here's the latest on it. And the latest on the top story of this is that the Utah Hockey Club is making a change to the list of options fans can vote on for a permanent nickname. The team announced today, Thursday, the time of our recording, that Outlaws will now be a choice along with Mammoth and Hockey Club. Wasatch, the name of a mountain range in Utah, was one of the three options offered by the team on Wednesday. But the first night of fan voting changed the team's mind. Outlaws was one of the 6 previous finalists in an earlier stage of voting. Quote coming in from Smith Entertainment Group. As in a statement, they announced, Hey Utah Hockey fans, we listened to your feedback and dug into all the Qualtrics data from last night's survey for the team name. It's clear Outlaws should be in the mix instead of Washet. So we're swapping it out, and that was on social media today. It continued on to say, surveys will continue at the arena Friday, Sunday, and Tuesday for you to vote for the options: Utah Mammoth, Utah Hockey Club, and Utah Outlaws. Excited to see the votes roll in. Smith Entertainment Group also announced on Wednesday that fans will be able to vote at iPad stations set up throughout Delta Center for a 4-game stretch that began on Wednesday with Wednesday's 3-2 Penguins victory over the Utah Hockey Club, as it was an overtime loss for Utah. The voting at this stage of the process will only be done in arena. Smith Entertainment Group executive Mike Mahan, Mike M. Mike, if I pronounce your last name wrong, I apologize. He said, we're doing that because this time we're including names and potential logos with them. Because of the logos, we're doing this only in arena and not showing those publicly. Those publicly. No, I said that right. Publicly. So that we can protect those images. Utah plans to announce the winning name and logo at a time to be determined following the end of this season and before the start of next season. Hockey Club was the name selected for Utah's inaugural season after co-owners Ryan and Ashley Smith purchased the contracts of Arizona Coyotes executives, coaches, and players. Fan voting will continue when Utah hosts the Columbus Blue Jackets on Friday. So let me just give you a sense here. First of all, we want to note that the Utah Yetis will not be in existence. And according to what the article here says, Utah decided to move on from Yeti after being unable to reach a coexistent agreement with Yeti Cooler Company, which Mike said has a unique, strong trademark and on anything published, Yeti or Yetis, either the singular or the plural on clothing or any other licensed gear. So, Yeti is out. Your choices prior to the next 3 of the 4 home games in Utah's current 4-game homestand are the Utah Hockey Club, the Utah Outlaws, and the Utah Mammoth. Those are your choices. Personally, I'm not going to be too upset if they keep Utah Hockey Club. I'm not going to be too upset if they keep Utah Hockey Club. But Outlaws to me personally seems a little dirty. It seems like it could be a little bit of a dirty one. But Utah Mammoth? Yeah, you know what? I wouldn't mind that. So if I had to base it between the 3, I'd narrow it down to 2, and I would come as far as if I don't like the Utah Hockey Club, which I do like the hockey club, but if I were to change the name, I would narrow it down to Utah Mammoth and Utah Outlaws. And honestly, if it were up to me, but it's not up to me, it's up to the fans of Utah Hockey Club, and it's also up to the Smith Entertainment Group, co-owned by Ryan and Ashley Smith. If it were up to me, I would go Utah Mammoth. But I mean, it's up to you and the fans. I mean, Utah Outlaws, I don't like the name that much. I feel like it might send a little bit of a dirty message when it comes on the ice. But you know what? It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to what they decide. So, I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but we will see what happens. Those next 3 of the 4 home games will be Columbus, St. Louis, and Philadelphia. And of course, we'll get into everything else in our next 5 coming up in just a few minutes. But before we do, it's time to get down to the game puck of the game. And yep, I teased it during the shake of the game. We're going to go for it here. Give it up for the game puck of the game going to Utah goaltender Connor Ingram, and for the Penguins, it's going to go to Alex Nedeljkovic. If you have any other options or any other deciding points, let me know at sportsforbeginnerspodcast8231 at gmail.com, or go to our Discord server, Penguins postgame show interactions on interactions on, of course, yes, on the Discord server under Sports for Beginners. Go to our Discord server. Penguins postgame show interactions, where you can provide your thoughts on the game, 3 stars of the game, game puck of the game, your shake of the game recipients, your player of the game, and 3 stars. And you know what? In our general or in the announcements area, you can go ahead and provide us with your thoughts on the potential name for this Utah hockey franchise. What do you like? Do you like Hockey Club? Do you like Utah Mammoth? Do you like Utah Mammoth? Do you like Utah Outlaws? Do you like the Utah Hockey Club? What do you think? What do you think, hockey fans? Let me know. With that, and with the game puck of the game out of the way, let's get down to business on what's next for the Hockey Club and what's next for the Penguins. We'll start with the Hockey Club. We mentioned they're on a 4-game homestand, which means the next game at home will be against the Columbus Blue Jackets tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Pacific. I meant to say 6 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Mountain. And with that said, moving on, their 4-game road trip continues into early February, where they will take on Sunday the St. Louis Blues at 6 p.m. 9 p.m. No, sorry, I had this right. 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Pacific on Sunday, February 2nd, 2025. From St. Louis and Columbus to Philadelphia, as the Flyers will be in town on Tuesday, February 4th, 2025 at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Mountain Time on Tuesday, February 4th, 2025. Continuing on in the next 5, we've gone through Columbus, St. Louis to Philadelphia. Now, back on the road. It's a 3-game road trip, but to close out the next 5, that road trip will begin in Columbus. And we'll finish off our next 5, bringing you a game from Carolina on February the 8th, 2025 at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central, 10 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Mountain Time. That's got to be interesting. Start time there. And of course, the Blue Jacket game is at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Mountain, and of course, 6 p.m. Central. That is on Thursday, February 6th, 2025. The game against Carolina is on Saturday, February 8th, 2025. And with that said, next up for the Hockey Club, it's the Jackets, the Blues, the Flyers, Jackets again, then Hurricanes. They'll close out January with the Columbus Blue Jackets coming to Utah. Then the Blues come to Utah to take on the Hockey Club. And then we've got the Philadelphia Flyers on Tuesday. That's February the 4th, 2025. Saturday, February 8th, 2025, the Carolina Hurricanes host the Hockey Club. And on the 6th of February, that's a Thursday, the Blue Jackets will go from being the road team to the home team against Utah. Meanwhile, for the Penguins, that'll do it for their season series with Utah. Off the Penguins go to Pittsburgh for some 2-game home stand beginning on Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern on February the 1st, 2025. 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Pacific. And that is on Saturday, February 1st, 2025. And that's also at 5 p.m. Mountain Time. On Tuesday, February 4th, 2025, their 2-game homestand comes to a close as they take on the New Jersey Devils at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Mountain. On Friday, no, I should say on Tuesday, February 4th, 2025. From the Predators to the Devils to... Hello! Here we go! Here we go! Here we go! Here we go! A 2-game road trip for the Pittsburgh Penguins. A back-to-back, by the way. Sets up the New York Rangers hosting the Penguins from Madison Square Garden. The Rangers will host the Penguins from Madison Square Garden on Friday night, February 7th, 2025 at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Mountain. Same thing for the Philadelphia Flyers. In Philadelphia, as the Battle of Pennsylvania heads back to Philadelphia. And this is for the first time of 3 times this February that the Penguins will play, because they will play in a home series after the Four Nations tournament. That will see them play first in Philadelphia, then in Pittsburgh, back-to-back nights. So it's a back-to-back night. Well, actually an off day in between. But it is a home series. Anywho, the Battle of Pennsylvania continues on Saturday, February 8th, 2025 at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Mountain. And then Washington. Fresh out of the yes, I said fresh out of the Four Nations tournament. The Penguins will go head-to-head with the Washington Capitals at 3 p.m. Eastern, part of another back-to-back, which is also 2 p.m. Central. And of course, yes, of course, we're looking at 12 p.m. Pacific time. I'll just double check to make sure that's right. I'll just double check to make sure I have that correct. I'll just make sure I have that right. But again, Eastern timeline is 3 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, I have that right. There we go. I do have that right. That is 12 p.m. Pacific time. Which also means that at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, fans will see on the Mountain Time Zone the Washington Capitals take on the Pittsburgh Penguins on February 22nd, 2025, right after the Four Nations tournament closes down after the Four Nations tournament closes up, it's the Capitals and the Penguins from PPG Paints Arena in a back-to-back 2-game homestand that wraps up with the Rangers on Sunday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 12:30 Pacific, 1:30 Mountain Time, and that's p.m. And of course, 2:30 p.m. Central. But the next 5 for the Penguins are the Predators, the Devils, Rangers, Flyers, and Capitals so far. A lot of hockey left to be played, but not very many months to do it. Penguins get in the win column. They close out the 7-game road trip on a high note. Thomas and I will prepare you for the game on Saturday, February 1st, 2025. Pens and the Predators next time on Penguins Postgame. And with that, thank you so much for listening to Penguins Postgame on Sports for Beginners, the podcast. And remember that I look forward to catching up with you again. And remember that I look forward to catching up with you all again real soon. And as always, we cheer loud and proud saying, "Let's go Pens! Let's go Pens!" My name is Scott McGregor, and this is Penguins Postgame. We will see you next time. Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis has just left the building. You've just listened to Pittsburgh Penguins hockey on the Sports for Beginners podcast. To learn more about the show and to view the upcoming schedule, like the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners or visit the official Sports for Beginners podcast website. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay tuned. And remember that it is not goodbye, it is until next time. And you'd have to be here to believe it.